to the events of the average person.
I agree.
And I think that's an exciting change in and historical studies.
Yeah, which is why I find it quite troubling to see information actually being removed from the internet. Whether it's a Facebook group being deleted
I
or
agree.
a Twitter account being deleted or something like that, you're losing a lot of important knowledge that could be world changing at some point in the future. I mean, suppose Bitcoin does become like the global ledger of truth. Someone's probably going to want to see your tweets, which aren't really there anymore. Have you ever considered that?
I'm sure Twitter's got a copy of them.
Yeah, I like to hope they do somewhere. I always think that nothing is ever truly deleted from these platforms, but they do hide it quite well, and they can certainly hide it from view.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm sure after I'm dead sometime it'll be all released, and hopefully well after I'm dead.
I probably won't be around myself to know, but yes, hopefully. And yeah, so that gets back to the question, like, would you consider it to be safe to introduce something like a global ledger of truth that everyone trusts 100% to be the truth in the current environment?
I don't think there can ever be one. That's the problem. Even when you have source documents, different people will view them differently.
Yeah.
So there are some things that are easy to look at as a source of truth. A sold a house to B. Here's the payment. B moved in. They've been there 20 years. There were no disputes. A went off and bought another house. That sort of thing, easy to check. But when you're checking someone's diary or comments someone said about someone else, you can't really take that as the truth, other than this is what someone said.
I was thinking to myself, because 1984 is one of my favorite books. I really love it, and I was thinking, what would happen if we had a government like INGSOC, the party, in 1984, and then that government decided to introduce the blockchain. And then that was regarded as the global ledger of truth from that point on. They would be able to control what went on there first, and then act as the gatekeeper that stopped others from participating in debate, which would really kind of skew the historic record.
But the problem is when they wanted to change the record, they won't be able to. So I mean, a year later, when they go, we were never at war with Eurasia, then. Right. They have to destroy all the access. I mean, they could do, but I mean, blockchain's a terrible way of doing this. If you wanted to make a variable truth system, then you wouldn't use blockchain.
Indeed. Yeah, you wouldn't. Although, perhaps in a way, I worry that people may trust it too much, or that we may be convinced that we have this worldwide blockchain now. Everyone trusts it. It is the definitive truth, and what's there, you can't argue with. Maybe people trust it too much, and false information that goes on there. And
again, it depends on what you're talking about.
Yeah, I guess it does.
I mean, how's the information put on the blockchain? Mm-hmm. If you're talking about GPS records and locations and where you are, etc. Then I used to, as fun, GPS sort of spoof locations on Square, and basically say that I was in Antarctica this week or something like this, and say that I've set up a restaurant in Antarctica and I'm dining with the penguins or something silly, and the app would let me.
See, these days they'd probably just ban you.
Yes, I know. Yes, Naughty Craig has done, said where he's not. But yeah, how do they prove I'm not?
Exactly. Well, how do
maybe I am on the North Pole having lunch with a polar bear.
Okay, then we'll say that information was all going on the blockchain, and then and then at some point in the future, someone was looking for the exact location of Craig Wright at 12 midnight on a Saturday night, and it says he was in Antarctica. We don't have any other records showing that he was elsewhere. So, so Craig Wright, can you say before the judge that you were in Antarctica at the time? Because that's what the Universal Ledger of Truth says.
Exactly, and that's the problem. It's only what's recorded is only as good as how you put it on. So we can say that there was a record written at that time, but then we need to actually go back further and prove the veracity of how that record was written.
Right. So would you like to see Bitcoin adopted worldwide tomorrow? If you could just flick a switch and everyone uses it?
I mean, it would be nice for all the accounting systems, records, and even taxation systems to suddenly go over. But I don't believe it's going to happen tomorrow. I mean, it would certainly help my bank balance, but the reality is I can't see that happening for many, many years of without many, many years of hard work. So,
I think what I was getting at was can we trust today's society to actually use it wisely? If we introduced it tomorrow, or would they just make a complete mess of it in its current form, in our culture's current form?
Well, Princeton professor Professor Frankfurt, has a book called On Bullshit. And
I think I've heard of that.
He tries to argue that there are actually three states. There's true, not true, and bullshit. And bullshit is where you don't care whether it's a lie or truth. You just make things up as you go. And it might be true sometimes, and it might be false sometimes. You just don't even care. Like politicians speak. Now, that's going to end up being a lot of what we store. So it's not just having Bitcoin and a ledger that we can trust. It's actually then going back and teaching people virtue ethics and teaching people that truth matters and that it's not relative, and that they want to ensure that where things are not true, they call them out, and that we have free speech. And it's not just person A versus person B, but Alice and Bob can actually then point out that Charlie's lying and record that as well.
Yeah. I think that may be the best way to do it, but I guess maybe the final question I have for you.
Unfortunately, a lot of people have this idea that computers will replace people. They're not going to anytime soon. The AI, or actual ignorance, as I like to call it, is not going to, anytime in my lifetime, be smart. And by be smart, I mean the cockroach will beat it in an intellect test. So I still see a world where we have people, and a lot of these things are like Amazon Turk. They pretend to be artificial intelligence, but they're real intelligence. They're the people behind the curtain pretending to be a computer.
Yeah, I've heard you say that a few times on some of the Bitcoin class episodes, and I was thinking that that the problem is not that someone will try to design an AI that thinks like a person, but that people will believe that it does. We're going to anthropomorphize them, and we're going to end up trusting this stupid thing with an intellect lower than a cockroach and thinking it's this wise oracle that's going to tell us what to do, and it's going to lead us to a kind of disaster. This is AI I'm talking about, not blockchain.
We already do that. I mean, we already do that. If you look at Tesla and their, our AI really worked hard not to hit that truck, but who would expect anyone to paint a truck white? We hadn't programmed it for white trucks.
Yeah, well, seeing all these people sleeping in their passenger seats and, with the autopilot engaged speeding down the freeway, and sometimes they slam into a truck and sometimes they don't. And a lot of people seem to trust, enough people seem to trust that they won't to do it, because they're not stopping. Some people have been caught 4 times doing this. So yeah, I think my concern is people are going to trust AIs too much, and they're not really intelligent.
Yes, but I think there's also a few people out there who have an agenda of population control.
Indeed.
And how do we get rid of the stupid people in society? Oh, we tell them that the car is going to be safe when it drives them to their destination.
That's a very interesting genetics program there. All right, so I guess I will ask the last question here, because I think there's all kinds of tangents we could go off on here, and to be honest, I'd like to go off on all of them, but there can be only one.